I'm here, so.
I'm Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
Howdy, Oklahoma.
My name is Chet Holmgren, and I'm down to dunk.
Dead gum.
I'm Josh Giddey, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
Is that like you eat them together?
Everybody tells him to get the bag of burgers.
I need like a straw.
Howdy. I'm an artist on record.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
My name is Kenrich Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
It might be Aaron Wiggins.
This is a troll. It's a troll. I'm trolling.
Howdy, Papa.
Because I think it would take away from who he is, you know? Yeah.
I love Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma to death.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Perfect. Very good.
I like the hat.
You like the hat?
Vava.
This is J-Dub, and I'm down to dunk. I'll be doing a lot of dunking.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me tonight, rarely ever on a Thursday night, it's me and Jay. Jay, what's up, dude?
Man, just coming through with a very rare Thursday night. Just the two of us.
Yep.
Taylor and Luke couldn't do it tomorrow. And so we said, why not just knock it out after the game?
Yep.
Instead of getting up super early. And, it was good to be able to follow up a 23-point beatdown
Just
from the Oklahoma City Thunder over the Los Angeles Lakers. You know, if they would have had Cam Reddish, I think the whole game probably would have been different.
Yeah, it was we were being teased all day long with the injury report.
Was he going to play? Was he not going to play? Are we going to get to see Cam Reddish?
Yeah. AD and LeBron all day long. Who's going to play? Who's not going to play? I talked to Jovan, who covers the Lakers for The Athletic earlier today, and he's like, I'm pretty sure LeBron and AD are both going to play. He was right. What a great reporter Jovan Buhai is. And they played, and it didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. The Thunder won in almost every single statistical category possible, including the most important one, which is points, 133 to 110. They beat them in fast break points, 26-12. They beat them in points in the paint, 54-38. They beat them in rebounds. How about that, Mark Degnault? Rebounds, 48-41. Offensive rebounds, even beat them by 1, 8-7. They just absolutely destroyed them. And it really started with like the second quarter absolute just slugging that they put on them. They beat them 42-23 in the third quarter. Because the first quarter, they were up 37-30, and they were up bigger than that during and after the second quarter, it's like, no. Like, it's all over.
Yeah, it was the first quarter.
Frozen, or if I'm frozen, but
both of us are frozen. Can you hear me now?
It
what
was
about
really
now?
on the back of Shea the whole time. It was really all about Shea, who finished with 33 points, 4 boards, and 7 assists. Jay, are we back? We back?
I can hear you. Am I frozen? You were frozen for a minute. Let me try something and see if I can get a switch here. I'm going to turn my internet off and just use maybe direct. Hold up.
Okay.
I'm back. Can you see me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see
Am I here?
You. There's something up. Yeah, I can see you. You're here. It might be me.
So the first quarter started out with like, I wasn't nervous. In the NBA, you don't really ever get nervous, but Lakers look good, and AD actually played well the whole game. Like, he was fantastic. Chet, there was part of it where it felt a little bit like how he was playing against Rudy, against the Wolves, but then he kind of settled in. He started getting his shots. He had kind of an up and under that he finished. He obviously had the turnaround jump shot that looked beautiful. And you probably could pull this up quicker than I could. It feels like Chet's in a little bit of a slump from the 3-point line.
Yeah, he definitely is.
I know he finished tonight at 1 of 6. It's not feeling quite as confident every time it's going up. But I don't know. I obviously beating the Lakers by 23 feels fantastic, and the Thunder just look like such a superior team starting in the second quarter through the rest of the game. We even got a Poku victory cigar, which is always a good thing for the pod.
That's how you know the game is good. So you get
Yeah.
the Poku victory cigar. It's feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling good for everybody.
But man, this Lakers roster.
Austin Reeves, good player, but the Austin Reeves hype was just so out of control over the summer. Like it was almost unfair to him. Yeah, Chet, to speak to the slump, last 5 games, he's only 36.7% from 3, which is a little less than 50%. But
right.
I mean, I have no concerns there with regards to
that. You know who's not slumping? Casey Wallace, still just hitting everything.
He's good. Casey Wallace, officially good. I really want to see. Yeah, he over the last 5 games shooting 66% from 3.
Game best plus 19 tonight, 22 minutes.
Yeah,
he was fantastic against the Lakers.
He's really good. Only took 7 shots.
He did, yeah.
I want to see him.
Joe both were 19.
I just want to see him take more shots, Kaysen. I want to see what is a usage rate that's higher than 10% for him. What does that look like? Because he's doing what he's supposed to do in this role. It's just fill in the gaps, play defense, move the ball, and take open shots. And he's been doing that all season very well. But we're a quarter way through the season. I'd like to see a little bit more. He's clearing those hurdles, and he's playing really well. I'd like to see more from him. But he and Joe as a tandem, actually the trio. And Alex and I talked a little bit about this on Wednesday, but Isaiah Joe, Casey Wallace, Kenrich Williams as your trio off the bench. It's just so nice because you feel confident in all 3 of them. It's almost like a breath of fresh air when they come off the bench. It feels good to have those guys coming off the bench for you. And again, I mean, they were all great. Kenrich plus 10, Isaiah Joe plus 19, Casey plus 19 tonight. I mean, and that's kind of how it felt.
Well, and that's one of the things when I was watching the first quarter, I was like, that's fine because LeBron, AD obviously are coming out. But as soon as we get to the bench unit, you're like, how are there any teams that you feel like the Thunder don't have an advantage over when it comes to that bench unit? When you use Kaysen and Isaiah Joe and Kenrich Williams, and they're always going to have one of those starters still on the floor. Lindy got a decent amount of minutes tonight. Would he play 12?
Yeah,
I'm not a Lindy guy personally, but I know that Mark trusts him like crazy.
Jay? Is this a Bedlam
thing? You
still mad about Bedlam?
I am, man. I'm not sure. It took me a while this week to actually get to the place where, and this is really saying something, is if you're not from Oklahoma, Oklahoma State is playing Texas in the Big 12 championship. And most of the week is man, I can't believe I'm actually pulling for Texas. And then finally I was like, no, I'm not. Why would I pull for Texas?
Why would you do that?
I know. And yes, I am podcasting from a closet. It's it's called my son's nook. And so it's got all of his, you can see all of his Legos. And
oh, nice.
And I just have a little itty bitty desk area that I do my pod from. So leave me alone.
Nice.
But yeah, man, I dude, it's impressive to watch this team be good enough to, how am I trying to say this? You watch them just dismantle a team and to have a casual Thursday night where they just blow a playoff team away. And it's just all right, well, looks like I don't have to finish the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, and it didn't feel this is the Thunder unsustainably good here. It just felt oh yeah, no, they just took care of business against a team that they should beat.
Yep.
The stats after this game, the team-wide stats. Plus 8.5 net rating, second in the NBA. Defense is 5th in the league at a 109.1. just barely behind the Knicks, who are at 109, a point to 0. And then offense is 6th in the league, barely ahead of Phoenix, and just behind Milwaukee. So looking good, looking real good. And we're almost to like that 20 game mark where it's like, hey, you kind of know who you are after 20 games. And for them to, it feels like we've seen a variety of looks from this team. Like we've only seen them look outclassed once. That was against Denver on opening night in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
And then every other game they've kind of been in, or they've just been destroying these bad teams. And that's how you get such a high net rating in the NBA. Like that's how Boston is so high, Philly is, Minnesota. Like that's how you get a high like net rating in these offensive defensive ratings that are just seem so big, is that you destroy the bad teams and then you stay in games with the good teams. And the Thunder have been able to do that this season. And I don't know if they'll be able to sustain second in net rating, but I think they're going to be a top 7 or 8 team in net rating this season. I mean, you look at the 8th team, plus 3.6. I mean, they're blowing that out of the water right now. And
well, I know it's not the most meaningful stat, but I'm like, they're leading the West in point differential at 8.5. You know, they're second in the entire NBA with that point differential. And there's 2 games that I really wish, just for the fact that it just makes it even more valid. And they're games they should have won, like that Philly game. Like they were in that game, and Shea, I felt like Shea was carrying it the whole time. And if J-Dub plays, I would say that they're probably going to win. Yep. And then that Minnesota game, man, that'll be a game. I don't think it's going to haunt them necessarily, but man, you really wanted them to get that win, and they're not going to have that many chances. But the Wolves, like Jaden McDaniels was out, which is a huge deal because he's a great defender, and then Anthony Edwards being out for most of the rest of the third quarter and fourth quarter. I'm like, man, you really needed to get that win, and I don't know. It just I know you have to wait for 2 more games to really be able to extrapolate, like, what is this team?
We can't do it until then, Jay.
I got 2 more games, and they're playing, I think, the Mavericks and they play the Mavericks on Saturday night, and then they play
Yeah, Mavs.
Hold on, sorry.
Hold on. I got their schedule here.
Yeah, Houston. They play the Mavs in Houston this week, so Saturday and Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, both are tough opponents, both on the road. And the Thunder have been pretty good on the road too. So I don't think they should.
6-1 on the road or something?
Yeah,
or no?
Not 6-1. Let's see.
6-1 in the Western Conference until last night. 6-2.
6-1 in the East with Eastern.
That's what am I talking about, man?
I don't know.
Where have they?
At home 6-4, away 6-2. And then
so they were 6-1. They were 6-1 against the Wolves, and then lost to the Wolves.
And lost to the Wolves, yeah. And then in the Western Conference, they're 6-5. So, yeah, looking good. They're sitting at 3rd in the West right now, with Denver ahead at 13-6, and then Minnesota at 14-4. So they're right there in the mix. Mavs are 11-6, Phoenix 11-7, Kings 10-7. They're right there with the best teams in the Western Conference. And then the Lakers, man, the Lakers, there were so many plays that I went back and watched where the Lakers just looked stuck in the mud defensively, where a play almost looked like, because I was watching with the volume off, and there were several times where I thought the play was the whistle had blown, and sometimes guys will just continue to shoot the ball after a whistle is blown. I thought a whistle had blown just with the way that the Lakers were behaving, with their way they moved. It's no, it's just Shea just getting to wherever he wanted and getting whatever shot he wanted. They were kind of pathetic defensively tonight.
Yeah, and some of that you have to at least give a little bit of, at least validity to the fact that they played their second night of a back-to-back. They're already an older team. But yeah, man, it was rough. And the Thunder, there was a few, especially in that second quarter. And I sent this out in the text thread. Like the Thunder were also just playing some unbelievable offense
Yeah.
and moving the ball beautifully. And when they're getting the ball and pushing and making transition work the way it did, it is just beautiful and really hard to defend, especially if you're a team like the Lakers who don't have a ton of athleticism. Um, I don't know, man. It was really, really good.
Yeah. It's a quality win for the Thunder. And I think if they can go into Dallas and win, I mean that would be like another kind of signature win against them because the Mavs have played well. So I think that's going to be an interesting one to see because if they can go into Dallas and beat them, which they can, like I have confidence that this team can actually like beat anybody in the league on any given night. Just got to shoot the basketball well enough to do it. And tonight they just absolutely destroyed the Lakers.
Yeah.
You want to just try to answer as many Twitter questions as possible.
Yeah, man. Let's roll.
we've got a lot. We got a lot of TQs here. And if you have questions in the chat as well, we will go to the chat at different times. We have 51 TQs that are here. Some we will and some we won't answer. There's it's a little risky reading anything off of Twitter these days, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it anyway. So, but yeah, if you have questions in the chat, throw them in there. We'll sprinkle them in as we go. So, first, this is from at Cody, son of Steve. Shout out to Cody Carson, a longtime listener, longtime friendship with people on this podcast. Do we want this? And it's a picture of Lauri Markkanen wearing a Thunder jersey. Is this what we want, Jay?
I mean, I'm not going to say no to it.
But are you going to say yes to it?
I would say yes to it if it was here, like if it was a possibility, but I'm not going to say yes to it. Yes, I like Lauri Markkanen. I think he'd be a great fit on this team, playing alongside. I think you would have to move everybody up. I think right now, if we're just being honest, based on the play, Giddey's the odd man out, and you would just shift it would almost seamlessly fit in that 4 position. But it's just, I mean, who else would be great on this team is Giannis. So is Giannis something that we want? Why would the Jazz get rid of Lauri Markkanen? Like he's still in the age range that you're looking for.
He's not like on the trade block. I know people look at them and say like, "Oh, the Jazz stink. They should just trade their guys." And people did this. People did the same thing with Shea whenever the Thunder stunk. They're like, "Oh, well, they should just trade Shea." Markkanen's 26. He's averaging 23 points, 8.7 boards per game, taking 8 threes at 38%. Like you're not going to get rid of those guys. And he's taking 17 shots a game. We're going to ask him to come beyond the Thunder and be the 4th best player. Like I just don't know.
We saw how that happened on the Cavs.
Yeah, I don't know that he wants to do that again either.
No, he's exactly where he needs to be. Like just in the Jazz, this is exactly what they should do. They're going to regress. They're still very early in their rebuild. They have a ton of assets. Like just leave please stop with Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, I just don't know that he's even the player that I would necessarily want. Like I want somebody that's going to help Jay and Chet shine. And what that is like a really good defensive wing that can shoot threes. And Markkanen's not necessarily that. Like he shoots a lot and he's really good offensive player. But I don't think he's like built for the role that they would want him to be in, because you still want J-Dub to have like the freedom to grow as a player. And even like Casey Wallace, I think needs some room to grow as a player. So I don't know. I just don't see it. And I also we're talking about Danny Ainge with Utah. Like Danny Ainge would require so many assets to actually make it happen. To where you'd be like, is it really even worth it? Like, what are we doing now? Like, we're going all in for Lowry Markkinen, like, because that's basically what it would be. Like, they're going all in for Markkinen, and I just don't see that happening. Just don't see it happening. At Red Sox Rebert, assuming Isaiah Joe is going to get $20 million a year, would you rather have him or Dort long term? Is it possible to keep both? It's a good question. So we still have Isaiah Joe for 2 more years, this year and next year, at a just steal of a deal.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
he has been special.
yeah, he's phenomenal.
I don't know. I don't like these kind of questions because it puts it in this place. Like, if you elevate Joe, you're a Dort hater, but it's hard with, like, Joe had some defensive plays tonight. Like, he had this block on AD. Obviously, that was
AD tonight. Yeah,
it was really special. But I'm like, probably Joe. He just brings such a unique skill. And Bobby Shmurda in the chat mentioned, keep both of them at whatever cost. And man, I don't disagree. Like, I think the Thunder are going to try their hardest to keep Joe.
I think they
He's
should.
just that kind of skill. Yeah. Special.
It is possible to keep both. Yes.
This game gets expensive real quick.
If I had to choose between the two, I'd pick Isaiah Joe. And I'm a Dort guy. Like, I'm a Dort guy. But I just think the shooting next to Shea is undeniable. And the defense, like, the gap between the shooting of Joe and Dort is much wider than the defense of the two.
Yep.
So, yeah. And also we have Case and Wallace on the team, which I don't necessarily think, like, he was always, like, meant to be the Dort replacement. And a lot of people thought that from day one, but he definitely could be. So, we'll see.
Well, and that could just be like, if there's a casualty to the financial cost of this team as they get older, like saving yourself a couple of years on a Kaysen deal versus Dort's deal. Although by that time, Dort may be looking at a second contract while Kaysen's starting his second, or his third contract. Well, anyway, but you could see that as a way that the Thunder are going to take the opportunity to cut costs that direction. But
yeah,
and I love Dort, man. Dort's been exactly what you needed from him this year. He's done exactly what you'd hoped he'd become. And but you still, like, you can't keep everybody. It's one of the things we have to keep remembering about this version is it's gonna be a lot of guys that you love from this team that aren't going to ultimately be on the 10-year team,
Yeah, without a doubt. This is from at Pepsi United. Over 1 month in, what are the preseason predictions you'd want to double down on? And what are the ones you'd like to back out of? His double down is Case and Wallace was a very good pick. His retraction is, although Mitchich wasn't bad, I think he should play more. I thought he'd be better. You have any thoughts on preseason predictions that you want to double down?
I was pretty hyped on Vava. And I think part of that is probably strategically just not playing him the minutes that I thought he was going to get. I can't remember any other real hot takes, and I feel like I maybe even undersold the 50 wins for this team.
Yeah.
About that one.
Yeah, it's looking possible, looking very possible there. Something that I want to double down on. I mean, I was very high on Chet and Chet at center in particular going into the season, and I'll like triple, quadruple down on that. I think guy's so good. And I think it's really fun watching him play, and especially play new opponents. Like, he's never played against Anthony Davis before. And I just can't wait to watch him play Anthony Davis again. Because I just feel like he's like a student of the game, like really wants to like know how to get better, watches his opponents, and then like comes back, and like the teams that we've seen him play twice, it's like, oh, like he's a little different now. Like we saw him against the Warriors and like he was awesome after he got to see them a couple times. Against the Bulls, he just was a different guy from the first game to the second game against Chicago. And so I'm just intrigued to see him continue to get better. He is outrageously good.
Yeah, and you see it tonight. You saw it kind of developing in real time. But I love what you and Alex both mentioned about the Wednesday game against the Timberwolves, where you're like, yeah, the next time that he plays Gobert, you're going to see a different version of Chet. And Gobert's fantastic. Like, he was fantastic. I can't stand him. Maybe my least favorite player in the entire NBA, but he was fantastic against the Thunder the other night. So, and so I feel like I want to just take a minute and take like a quick aside to talk about the Davis Bertans contract. A lot of people in the comments weren't aware of what has taken place. Apparently, that's been reported today by some guy from Hoops Hype or something, but they've renegotiated Davis Bertans' contract to basically remove the 75% of game stipulation. And in doing so, they guaranteed 2024-25's contract for only like $5.25 or $5.5 million. And so instead of having to do the thing where if he plays 6% of games, he gets a full 19 million or whatever it was for next year. They removed that stipulation and then made it to where he's only guaranteed 5 point, whatever it is, regardless. So
yeah, basically they give him $250K to amend the contract. And for whatever reason, they want that flexibility. I mean, the Thunder always want flexibility within every situation. And so this gives them a little bit more flexibility there. It was reported by my guy, Mike Scotto, who has like carved out like a nice little niche here for himself where he gets kind of it's funny how like NBA reporting works, because like he started to get like a lot of like these like smaller deals, and like he's really working his way up to getting bigger deals, but it's just so hard to beat the Shams and Wojs of the world. But Mike's doing a good job. I like Mike. But yeah, I think it just provides the Thunder with flexibility. You explained it well, and that's just is what it is. Like his, he was never going to play 75% of the games anyways, and he's like, we're only just like a handful of games, I think, away from him like not even being possible. But anyways, I think it's just about more flexibility for the Thunder, and I don't necessarily think it's like a inevitable trade happening, but I think that it makes him a little bit more tradable immediately since that's been amended. So Presley's always up to something, when sometimes it doesn't amount to anything but just added flexibility or added options. And I think that's just kind of what this is right now. And we'll see if it truly amounts to anything. But
I doubt it.
At least, yeah, I don't know.
Every trade exception the Thunder have ever had, that it's like, well, it just expired.
Yeah. They oftentimes you don't need the flexibility that you're given, but you'd rather have it than not. Yep. Okay. At Shutter King. This is maybe a cameraman. When are we going to get the 5W lineup? Wallace, Wiggins, Williams, Waters. Feels like it is important that we need to start putting pressure on coach to make it happen. It actually happened tonight. I'm trying to pull up the lineup. Did you see this happen? The W lineup?
No. I've never. I mean, is this something has been talked about?
Williams, Waters, Wiggins, Wallace, and Williams on the court together. It was all W's tonight. So I think that Shutter King here made it happen. Shutter King is a photojournalist. I had it right. There we go. Yeah, it happened. You made it happen by typing in this question 6 hours ago. Congratulations. At Dude Buffet, how many draft picks would you trade for a new logo, Jay?
5 of them.
5. That's a lot. That's too many.
Like
That's way too
5 first or 5 just in general? Is it firsts?
first.
Oh, like
It's way too
none?
many. Yeah, I'm fine. I like Doritos a lot. Never mind. It just brings to mind Cool Ranch Doritos every time.
Those are fantastic chips. Doritos
They're good.
are the top of the chip ranking to me.
Yeah.
It's the purple ones. It's the spicy sweet chili ones, but
Yeah. Where are you at on Sun Chips these days?
huge fan. There's not a chip I say no to be real with you, but yeah, I like them all. I've really gotten
Fritos?
into yeah, love them.
Yeah, they're good.
Fritos are better with something, like some sort of,
Mhm.
dip or something. I've really
Mhm.
gotten into Ruffles sour cream and cheddar. Those are
Oh,
really
yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
those are
forgot how
good.
good a Ruffle was.
Ruffles. Yeah, chips are good. Breaking news.
Chips are great.
Breaking news.
You're
Chips are
hearing it
good.
here.
From at Evan ETM. Will we see a Mitsich closing lineup? Probably. You don't think so?
What? Dude, I don't know, man. Like, there's part of me that what you wanted out of Mitsich, you're getting out of Joe and Case and Wallace. So it's like
Yeah.
he would be the third option out of those 3 guys to me right now. And I like what I've seen from Mitsich. It's just like Kaysen playing, 5 years or old, like feeling like he's 5 years older than he actually is, has just changed the whole dynamic of this team. Like it's crazy how prepared he was to play,
Yeah.
and how well he's playing. And so I'm like,
I
trade
know.
Mitsich for, Laurie Markkinen.
Would that be fair? Could we do that? Yeah, I would do that. I think I would do that. I think I would want to do that. Yeah, I still think there's going to be some lineup shuffling as the season goes on, and we'll have some weeks where Vasilier is playing more.
Yeah, for sure.
Which he's not playing at all right now. But I think we'll have some. There'll be some moments where he plays. At Bazahawk, you guys briefly talked about Giddy's value on the Wednesday pod. Hypothetically, how good would Giddy be on the Spurs with Wemby? Are there any other fringe or role players that would be great theoretical fits on other teams? Trey Mann on the Pistons, Poku on the Wizards are the ones that come to mind. I actually don't love the Giddy's fit on the Spurs very much. Like, I like the idea of having a guard that gets the ball to Wemby, but like Wemby is only a theoretical shooter at this point, and they have invested a lot in my guy Jeremy Sohan, and he's not a shooter. And so I just don't think that those 3 in a lineup is a good idea at all.
Right.
So I wouldn't do that. I would not want to do that. I think that you have to have, if you're going to, if Sohan and Wemby are 2 of your guys, I think you have to have shooting around them. And I don't think that's necessarily a good landing spot for Josh. So yeah, what would be a good landing spot for Josh? I'd like to see him in like Indiana. I think would be a good landing spot for Josh, like this like fast paced like offense where he can play next to a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who like loves to share the ball. I think he could be like help put that offense into hyperdrive a little bit. I think that could be really fun. And they've got a lot of shooting, which I think helps them quite a bit. I think New Orleans could use like a guard that can get their guys the basketball too. So I think New Orleans is like a pretty decent spot. I think the Warriors, who were linked to him originally, would be a good spot for Josh. I think he could really thrive there. I even think Sacramento would be a good place for Josh. I think there's a lot of good landing spots. I just don't particularly like teams that are building from the bottom up that don't have good shooting, like Detroit or the Spurs. I just don't think that's the best place for him in particular, but I don't know. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I think you're spot on as far as where he'd be the best fit. I still think that obviously all of the personal stuff is really making all of this far more of a conversation, but I don't think the Thunder have any sort of I don't think they have any plans to trade him.
He's not going to get traded this season. Like, it's just not going to happen. I mean,
I
I would be so floored if they actually did that. I would be like, I would do it like a 5-hour emergency pod if they did that.
Yeah, I just still think they have like I said, once pending a resolution with this personal stuff that is not, whatever it could be at its worst, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just think that they're going to continue to see him. He's 21. Like, they're trying to see who he is. The pain is not finished on this house either with him.
Mhm.
So just, just play it out. I know it's really easy to be out on him completely, and I get it. But
it would make everybody's life easier right now if Josh wasn't on the team. Like, I get it. Like, I totally get it.
Yeah.
But the thing
Trust
is,
us.
like,
For guys that have to pod every single, 3 times a week, yeah, we would love for this not to be what we're dealing with, but
yeah. But he's going to be on the team, and he's going to be better. He was better tonight than he has been recently, and he's going to be better than what. And he's going to be better, and he's going to find a better role for himself. And it's on Mark to find that for him. He didn't play a whole lot tonight, and his minutes have been trending down, but also like the mental fatigue of what the situation is for a lot of people, but particularly the guy who's at the center of it all, like, has to be a part of what's going on. And so I don't want to speculate on too much with that, but you can only imagine like what that's been like for him and for really everybody that's like directly involved. It's got to be such a draining time for all of them. And so I will hold judgment on Josh and the way he's played and the way he looks like he fits and all of that until we are well in the rear view of all of this and whatever that looks like. And that could be a long time from now, could be a short time from now. We don't know. We don't have any clue when this is all going to be done. And so I'll just leave it at that. At Deuce 0-0-0-0. Do you think towards the end of games, like the loss against the Pelicans and other moments against the Kings, that it's too much Shea ISO and not enough team ball, even when it leads to us winning games? I know from past experiences with KD and Westbrook, it's not sustainable in the playoffs.
I think that's a little bit of the kind of a captain of the moment, or what is that phrase? Prisoner of the moment. Like obviously against the Wolves,
you want to be a captain of the moment. You don't want to be a prisoner.
but yeah, like you watch that Wolves game and it felt so much like the old Scott Brooksy. But Shea even mentioned that he panicked a little bit. He's like, yeah, I thought I was going to get fouled, so I shot way too early, and all of that. I think that it's always going to be hard not to default to that, but just remember, we're 2 weeks removed from Chet Holmgren hitting a shot that was probably not the first option, maybe the second or third option. Is my best guess on that. And even what they say, I'm like, there's no way Chet doing a turnaround 3-pointer from the corner was their preferred shot. But maybe it was. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But I think it's just a prisoner of the moment or a captain of the moment response.
Yeah. I mean,
because this team does not play like that. They do not play like that team at all. And there's going to be moments where Shea should, because he's freaking incredible.
Yeah, he's the top 5 player in the league. And like the truth is, the NBA is really hard in like closing clutch moments. And it's tough to just like, hey, let's just run our offense. Like, let's just run some sets. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, when you watch these games, they're not running sets at the ends of these games when it's tight. The ball is in the hands of the best player, and the best player gets to create off of a screen or a switch or whatever it is. Like, that is like how NBA basketball goes. It's like, and it's like, may the best man win at the end of games.
Yep.
That's just how it is. Mostly because what you want is to get a shot in those moments. And like, you can't afford to turn the ball over because you're trying to run a set or you're trying to do whatever and you get too cute. And they know it, because the thing is, what's so hard about running sets, especially at the end of games, because teams are so locked in, is that the teams know your sets. Like, they send scouts to every single arena, and they know exactly like what the names of the sets are, who's going where, how it's going to happen. They know. And so when they start to run a set, like, the teams know exactly what's coming at them, especially in the closing moments where you have to be laser focused. And that's why it's like, hey, now we believe we have the best player. And against almost every team in the league, you can look across the court and say the Thunder have the best player. Tonight, against LeBron and AD, the Thunder have the best player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you feel confident with that. And he's going to be the ones to take the shots. So that's just is what it is. Hey, shout out for the super chat here from the guy. He says, love the show, guys. Been following since the PG-13 trade, and man, it's been so cool to watch this team be built. Excited for the future. I'm down to dunk. Thank you, the guy, for that super chat. That was very nice. Let's see. Next question from @it's_day. I was curious about Giddey possible contract extension this summer, but obviously there's not clairvoyance on that. So how about, are you worried about OKC's record against the West? It's improving, but it's a mediocre 5-5. They're 6-5 now, but they've dominated the East at 6-1. I mean, I'm not concerned. A lot of it is like the quality of teams that they played in the West versus the quality of teams that they played in the East. Like, they did beat the Cavs twice. Those are like both really good wins, and one of them was like a literal miracle that they won that game. But like, they played Chicago twice, and that team stinks. Like, that team's terrible. The one loss was to Philly, but they played pretty simple opponents. And then out West, like, they lost to the Warriors, and the Warriors are a mess right now, but they're still Steph Curry and the Warriors, and that they lost on a Steph Curry drive. That's a whatever. They got killed by Denver. They lost close game to Minnesota. Like, you just kind of look at each game. Like, I don't know how you could feel like bad about it. You know what I mean? Or worried about it. I don't know how you feel, Jay.
That's where I'll say it's too early to probably make any sort of real evaluation for the long-term success of this team, especially when you see how they do improve the second time they get to play these teams. So they're not trends. Like, there's no trend for me based on East. It's just who they've played. And I am intrigued to see them have some of these, like this game on Saturday is playing the Mavericks. You're going to be playing a team that is in that kind of echelon of teams that, they need to prove something against. They haven't. I know Alex mentioned that on Wednesday is just what's the marquee wins? And obviously the Warriors game is probably the marquee win to this point. The Cavs win was substantial for a lot of reasons, but as far as, the total conversation, but you've got to beat good teams, and that's something they have the ability to do, and they're doing it. Like, I think the Lakers are decent. But I don't think anything from the past. Yeah, I don't think anything from the past few weeks is any indication of, are they successful in this in the East versus the West, or versus these teams, or versus not these teams. They've been competitive in every single game except for the Nuggets game. Like they could have easily won the Warriors game that they lost here in Oklahoma City. The Kings game in Sacramento was one where it felt way more lopsided. That was the most off the team has felt outside of the Denver game. And then obviously the Philly game, they were in it, and just a strange game. Plus, I was trying to watch the OSU BYU game the whole time.
So was Royce. I was sitting next to Royce. He had it on the whole time, and he was, you know what? If you want to blame anybody, if you're a Sooners fan, if you want to blame anybody, you can blame Royce Young, because he was mocking me almost the whole time that OSU was losing to BYU.
Yeah, definitely his fault.
Yeah,
it's either him or my friend Chase Lilly was like, "All right, so we go to the Big 12 championship game together." I was like, "Yep, well, here it is. This is your fault, buddy. Your fault."
Also his fault. Let's try to fire through some of these. We're already at 46 minutes, Jay.
Let's go.
At Red Devil Rapport. When will we get tired of comparing Chet to Kevin Durant? I won't get tired of that, because that means Chet's awesome. I don't know about you, Jay.
Different players sometimes look similar on offense, but just different. It's just different.
Yeah.
I love Chet.
He's so good. He's such a good basketball player. Really good at basketball, that guy. At _DP Mont. Has Kenrich cutting his hair been talked about anywhere? Literally, just noticed it this game. Yeah, he's had his hair cut all season. He looks good. Feels good.
Somebody asked him about it, and I can't remember the answer or who asked it, but yeah, he cut it. That was it. That's it.
That's a shame. At Garrett _Jones 25. Does Poku get the Bays treatment from last year? I mean, it's possible.
Meaning traded?
Yeah, like traded instead of extended. Like I don't see any real distinct possibilities for an extension there for Poku, unless things change significantly, which maybe they could. But yeah, he may.
So we're having people.
Traded.
Yeah, he's done. I love Poku to death, but he's going to be in Europe by the end of the 2024, middle of 2024. But Hoops Talk and Brian Bronton said that Kenrich's wife made him like, "Hey, it's time for you to shut that or cut that."
That's
Poku's done. Like, what's he gonna do?
He's gonna be a star, Jay. Okay, just leave him alone. Leave the guy alone. Let the guy spread his wings somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. He's a peacock, man. He's got to learn how to fly, or he's got to fly.
That's right. At Andrew Boo Boo to rank these Thunder media personalities using a fast food scale. So we'll just go Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, and well, just say whatever comes into your mind. Matt Pinto. Matt Pinto,
I'm going Wendy's.
Dude, I was thinking that too. Because, like, here's the thing. Like, Wendy's, I always feel a little weird when I go to Wendy's, but I'm always like, after I leave, I'm like, man, and after I eat Wendy's, I'm like, it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Very kind of older, traditionalized, you know, like, I don't know.
You get a baked potato there.
Yeah, you can get chili.
You can get chili. All right. Brian Davis. Frosty. Yeah.
Hold on, Brian Davis. Is this throwback, Brian Davis?
Yeah, there's some throwbacks in here too.
Steak and Shake, because Steak and Shake is no longer around here. And did he leave in like controversy? Controversy. Like,
yeah. That's Brian Davis. He was great though. He was.
I
awesome.
like Brian Davis.
Chris Fisher.
Subway, man.
Oh, that's a good one. Jay, you're on fire tonight.
He does. He's just there, and he's
just there.
You can find one on any corner. He's just there.
Yeah.
Michael, I actually don't hate our team. Mike, this is where I'm going to really, really shift the whole conversation for you guys, because I oddly love Michael Cage.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
love Michael Cage. So for me, he's not quite the Chick-fil-A, obviously, but I would say he's a good McDonald's, man. It's kind of fun. Sometimes you're embarrassed that you enjoy him a little bit.
That's totally it. She's like, man, I just ate a
Like,
double
you don't
quarter pounder
tell
and it
people
was delicious. It was
you don't
delicious.
tell
but
people that.
I'm not sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm not like sharing it on social media,
Yeah,
But,
he's the fast food that you throw away before you pull into your house. Like you have to go find a dumpster or like a trash can so your wife doesn't know.
Grant Long.
Oh, Grant Long. How about this is just because it actually doesn't have to do anything with the name, but I'm gonna go Long John Silver's. It's like
Yeah.
there was a season where it was okay, but if you ate it today, it would be problematic.
Yeah. Nancy Lieberman.
Nope, no comment.
Antonio
I don't
Daniels.
know. Oh gosh, Chick-fil-A.
He's the Chick-fil-A of the bunch for sure. He's so good. He's so good on the Pelicans broadcast.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Shout out. And just like an awesome dude as well. Nick Gallo.
Is that it? My man, that's what I was wondering. You go Nick Gallo. Nick Gallo's he's I don't know what would be kind of close to Chick-fil-A level, but I like Nick Gallo a lot.
I give him Chick-fil-A too. I think Nick and both Nick and Paris do a really good job. They're both on the list.
Yeah.
So I give them both.
They really do.
I think they both do a really good job. They both bring good energy. They both really know their stuff too. So shout out to them. Very interesting question. I did not see that one coming whenever I started looking at these TQs. Okay.
Ooh, Whataburger. Hotspots Casino said Gallo gets a Whataburger.
Whataburger's
like some Whataburger.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yep.
Hey, have you noticed I know you don't watch games like on Bally all the time, like maybe some of the rest of us do because you're there a lot, but Taco Bueno they're trying to revive themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've had some commercials that say it's like Taco Bueno is back, baby, and then it's just like goes to this whole chilada meal and with Mexican chipning, like so maybe they finally realized that they had been falling apart for the last 7 years.
They used to be a big deal on this show at the whenever we first
huge
started. But now, like I haven't been to Taco Bueno in years.
Last time I went, I refused to go back for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, maybe we ought to give it another try.
Maybe.
I am Kev Bot says on Tuesday I had my third child and first son. Congratulations. Who should
congrats.
Should be my son's first jersey? Doesn't have to be a Thunder jersey. His middle name is Fox, so a throwback Kings with Fox could be cool. Yeah, that could be cool. But you should get him a Thunder jersey. You should get him a J-Dub jersey. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. Or just get a custom one. You know, like do Fox on the back of it and number 23. Nope, don't do that. Okay. I was gonna say get the one that the L Man has, but
yeah, don't do that either. Don't do that either. Let's see. At CJ_Pike, if you could add one player in the league that comes off the bench to this team, who would it be and why? So a player that comes off the bench from any other team. Who would that be and why? It'd have to be a big wing is what I would like. I think PJ Washington comes off the bench some. He'd be an interesting one to throw onto this team. I wish Jaime Jaquez came off the bench because that would be somebody that I would like to add to this team.
Is he starting for them?
Yeah, he starts. He's like
that's awesome.
Freaking really good. Moses Moody comes off the bench for the Warriors. He's kind of an interesting player. I like him. Who else?
I don't know who's coming off the bench. Like I'm trying to put my mind on Naz Reid.
Nas Reed would be an interesting one. He was really good the other night.
Yeah, I
against the
know. That's the only reason I mentioned it because I hated every minute he played.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are some interesting options there for the Thunder. But yeah, the Thunder are in such a good spot. It feels a little greedy.
Who comes
try
off the
to
bench
plug
in New Orleans? Anybody from New Orleans you want? Trey Murphy or Herb
If Trey
Jones?
Murphy came off the bench, Trey Murphy would be amazing for OKC. I like Dyson Daniels, but he also doesn't shoot it, so maybe not. Jordan
Yeah.
Hawkins shoots it, but like he's like a Isaiah Joe light at this point.
Yep.
So I don't know. Let's see. At bparker2337, if we continue at this pace for the whole first half of the season, if/when do we make a big trade to fill holes to try to be really competitive this year? And who would you target? I'm sorry, man. I hate to be the wet blanket here, but this is not going to happen this year. It could happen in the summer, it could happen next year, but also we just don't know because they may have the guys on the team that they need. And they can make a pick in the draft that kind of fills that hole too. So there's just not. I don't think that there's, and we keep hearing about this, and this is like kind of how like the national media covers this team is like, hey, they're good and they have all these picks, so now the obvious next step is for them to use the picks to get players, and that's not necessarily how this is going to go. Eventually, they will use picks to trade for players. I believe that will happen, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should expect it to be anything significant. And I could see them using, like, this draft. People are already saying that it's not elite. There's who knows, but dude, if they find somebody in the top 6 that they think could fill that power forward that can stretch, play some defense, all of that, and they have 7 and they have 10, and they have their own or whatever it is. I could see them doing that before I would see it because they're not in a rush to push a button. Like, they're going to be potentially second round of the playoffs good, and they're the third or fourth youngest team in the NBA currently.
Second
if not young,
of the games that they play.
Yeah. So I'm like, just wait. They're going to be one of those teams that's playing in the NBA finals with 12 first round picks in the next 4 years kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we need to wait and see this play out a bit before we like start jumping to like, here's who they should get, or who's like the fantasy like GM stuff. Like, I just think that we should just slow down because like this team is really good and they have a lot of good players. And like, if we think Cason Wallace can be a much better player than he is now, and I think that he can be, then like there's not any real need to like go find guys that can go get you buckets, that can go take a ton of possessions and a ton of shots, which is like what people suggest all the time is like, oh, let's get the star player to come here. Like, why do you need that? Why do you need somebody that takes 15 shots a game or 20 shots a game on this team? Like, that is actually like not what they need at all. They actually just need some guys that can come in and like play like roles, and like somebody that can be maybe like 25% better than Kenrich is and like play the role there and like be that guy. Like that's kind of more so what I would want rather than making a trade for some star, because I believe they have the stars on the team already. And like, you just need to allow it time to kind of to cook a little bit, and that takes time. And you can't substitute time and experience. Whenever you try to do that, when you supplement like players, you may fast forward a little bit, but look at like what Philly did when they tried to do that with Simmons and Embiid, and they're like, let's do it now. Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris, and like they hit the fast forward button, they got good and they had like a chance, but they've still not gotten out of the second round. Like, you're not guaranteed just because you hit the fast forward button to get to where you want to go. And so you just have to be really careful. And then like they were forced, because they made those trades, they were forced in a position where they had to make really big decisions a little bit faster than maybe they even wanted to. And so they were in this position where they had to choose between Jimmy and Ben, and they chose Ben, which everybody thought was the right decision at the time, but it was absolutely the wrong decision. And now they're still in decent shape, but still haven't gotten out of the second round. So you want to be a little bit more patient with it, and I think the Thunder are going to be, and frankly they're in better shape than the 76ers were even at that point. So it's good. Let's see. At Thunder Meme Guy, has there ever been a better Thunder bench than right now?
What was the best Thunder bench? I feel like it was always an issue.
I think like the 12-13 team had a really good bench. Like Kevin Martin, Nick Collison, Reggie Jackson, Derek Fisher.
Yeah.
Was like the bench for them in the stretch. Like that was really good. Like that was a really good bench.
Kevin Martin was fantastic.
Kevin Martin was really good that year. He was really, really good that year. So that bench is probably a little bit better than what the Thunder's bench is now. But you give it a year. Like you give Case another year, you give J. Will another year. That may not be the case. Maybe like the 2020 team. Let me pull up what the Chris Paul team.
Was that
because like Schroeder was really good that year.
Yeah.
For them, I don't know if it's necessarily better. Let me look. I'm gonna look at a rando game down the stretch.
Was Dort starting? Dort was starting for that team?
He was down the stretch. But like Dort was in the G League for some of that too.
Wasn't that the year he had 30 in the game 7?
Yeah. He was in the G League for a big chunk of that season. Yeah, they had the Schroeder, Nerlens Noel.
Oh yeah, I like Nerlens.
It wasn't that good.
No. So maybe.
It wasn't that good. Yeah, so this is a game from February when Dort was like he was like in the starting lineup because like he had to beat out Terrence Ferguson to get there. And it was like, oh yeah, he's like so much better than Terrence Ferguson. It's not even funny. Because they started CP3, Shea, Gallo, Dort, Steven Adams was their starting lineup. God, that team was so much fun, man. And then brought Schroeder off the bench. And then like Nader played a lot for them, and Nerlens played a lot, and Hami played a lot. I'm surprised Hami didn't have a job in the league. I thought he was actually pretty good for the Pistons last year. That's weird to me. But it's going to be close. I would still say that 12-13 team probably had the deepest bench, but this team, you could convince me by the end of the season that this team has a deeper bench.
Yeah, it was Kevin Martin, Nick Collison, Reggie Jackson, Hashim Thabit.
Reggie was really good, as much as we just hate that guy.
DeAndre Liggins played for a while.
Yep. Maybe a couple more. We're already at an hour here. At Johnny Hill 34, regarding Zach Lowe owing a favor to me, I'd love to see him on Andrew versus the Beat. That said, Zach is the king of tangents, but can he hang with the fry pod side conversations? Can he make the oos noise? Does he eat cereal? He wants to know. Any thoughts? I don't know if we can get Zach Lowe to come on at 6 a.m. on a Friday.
I doubt it. Although it's 7 a.m. where he lives.
That's true.
I want to really only start at. We start at 6:30, so
that's true. Still 7:30 is a big ass for people in the NBA.
I bet. Like, get it. You're going to be in Vegas here in what, 2 weeks?
Next week.
Is it next week?
It's next week.
Yeah. So I'm assuming he'll be there. Like that's where you got to do it.
If we could do it in person, that would be better.
Yeah,
It's always better to do it in person. We'll see.
always.
We'll see. Okay. Would you add Watkins be 1531? Would you rather add Dort to the KD Rust teams that desperately needed a shooting guard, or Prime Ibaka to this team?
Oh,
We
Prime
needed a
Ibaka. Yes,
support
please. Thank you very much.
Andrew's words, and I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, Prime Ibaka would be so sick next to Chet.
Peaky
Because
Ibaka.
I mean, Peaky Ibaka. Yeah, Peaky Ibaka next to Chet would be super duper sick. And at that, I mean, if Ibaka was in the league now and a young, like 23-year-old Ibaka or whatever, you would have him just shooting so many corner threes.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
Yeah, and he was such a good shooter.
And so, yeah, he's not a he would struggle a little bit with this team because he was not ever much of a decision maker.
Yeah.
But they would just have to be content with him just like parking his butt in the corner on offense, and then on defense, like you just let those two on defense would be absurd.
That's the problem.
Would be absurd. They would be so good. Zach Deek, would you rather be stuck on an island alone with Presti or Degnault?
Degnault.
Degnault for sure. I love both those guys are awesome, but Mark. Let's see. Based on expectations, another one from Zach Deeg. Based on expectations coming into the season, who has outperformed the expectations more, Kaysen or Chet?
Man, I had like no expectations for Kaysen.
Yeah.
So that's something, but I don't know. It's also easy to say that Chet has even exceeded expectations.
Yeah. I think it's still probably Kaysen, just because I don't know that anybody thought that he would be like in the rotation like every single night and like trusted by the coaching staff like right away every single night.
Shooting over 50% from the 3-point line.
Yeah. So it's still probably him, but I think both have definitely exceeded expectations. Yeah. OKC Rammer or OK Crammer.
Probably that one.
Coming to OKC tonight for the first time as a 21-year-old. Where should me and my friends go? I'm not the best person to ask this question to.
That I got you, man. So you need to go to Lunar Lounge. Tons of fun. Good spot to go to. R&J Supper Club. A lot of fun. Fassler. We've enjoyed Fassler. Jones Assembly is a great spot too. Those are four places I would try to go.
And Brahms. Okay, last
bag of burgers.
Get yourself a bag of burgers. At Will Roche _ is it realistic for Shea to make all NBA first team and all defense first team with the way that he's been a two-way force so far this season?
It'd be really hard for him to be all defense first team.
It'll be really tough for him to be all defense first team for sure. You can make the second team, maybe.
What about MVP?
I think that he's on the list. He's on the short list currently. If the Thunder finish in the top three,
that's what I was going to say. What does the team have to do?
They got to win more than 50 games. They got to be in the top three of the Western Conference, and like the Nuggets and Jokic have to like take their foot off the gas like they did last year. You know,
right? Or an injury, like they've been sliding since Jamal got hurt.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't. So like if you look at the top of the standings, like Boston, it would be Tatum, but I just feel like people are a little reluctant to like crown Jason Tatum like the best player in the league for whatever reason. Orlando, there's nobody on Orlando that would win the MVP. Milwaukee, I mean Giannis obviously, and Embiid. Yeah, Giannis and Embiid are probably like the guys in competition most for it. if it's not Jokic. But like he will be in the mix. And also Luka deserves to be mentioned here.
Yeah.
So like Luka, Shea, Jokic, Giannis, Embiid is like the list right now for me. And you could put Tatum in there too. I'd put Tatum in there as well, but I just feel like the NBA, like media at large, are a little reluctant to make him like truly a part of what's going on here. And like in Minnesota, like I just don't think that. I think Edwards would be the guy, but I just don't know that he's gonna have quite have the numbers that it's gonna take.
The narrative, probably.
Yeah, I just don't think he's gonna get there. But Shea, I mean, averaging up over 30 points per game is pretty absurd what he's done so far this season.
Yeah.
So 36-6. So yeah, he's gonna have a shot at the MVP if this continues. Yeah, Booker. Great Babe says Booker. Yeah, he's just gonna have to play enough, is what it comes down to. Yeah, and the Suns have been awesome lately. But yeah, Booker's just gonna have to. He's gonna have to continue to play. So, and Katie's been good too. Yeah, I'm excited to see them in the in-season tournament. I think that's gonna be really fun. All right, Jay, anything else before we go? Lots of questions. We didn't get to all of them. We thank you guys so much for always sending in your TQs to us for the Friday pod. This is the Friday pod, if you are still wondering if you're going to get 2 pods. Jay's so tired. Jay, we got to get you to bed. We got to get you to bed, brother.
Man. Here's the deal. Like, I am in bed between 10 and 10:30 every single night.
That's
every
good.
night. It's 11:30 and I am just like zombified.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. Thanks so much for tuning into the pod. Hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and we will talk to you guys again on Monday.